y'all, Joanna here. So as you guys will see in this video, that this has taken over the span of a week and it is my seed starting video. I'm going to show you several different ways that I started seeds this week. And there are definitely some mistakes that were made, but I think that's a really cool thing about this video and watching my channel is that you're going to see someone who has no experience whatsoever. I am just learning as I go along and doing a lot of research, listening to a lot of experienced growers and learning from them and going ahead and experimenting for myself. Okay, so down in my seed starting space, I want to show you what I did this morning and just kind of talk about it for a minute. So here are all the peppers that I am going to be starting. Some are for my garden and some are for selling. I'm going to go through them in just a minute. But to show you the setup, I have a heat mat underneath these. On this one and this one, I had just a few more peppers that didn't make it on. So I will have to, as some of them germinate, I'll just have to move them up and down. So it's not the perfect setup, but it's gonna work. I know it's gonna work and we'll figure it out, work all the kinks out as we go along. And the other thing I'm also getting that was back ordered, I'm waiting, is those 10-20 trays that all of these can sit in so I can bottom water. It will also be easier to carry them from place to place. I used a baking sheet today to take them from upstairs where I was planting them to down here onto their trays. So it will be a lot easier when I get my 10-20 trays. So I forgot to mention that there will be a space heater right over here to help keep this room nice and warm. Peppers love warmth. I also have a thermometer up here so I can keep track of how warm this room is and try to regulate that for the plants. My hope is by putting that space heater next to these that don't have a heat mat over it, that might be enough to get them to germinate well. They say peppers really love heat, so I'm going to keep them as warm as possible. The other thing I was going to say is I have all the peppers up here right now because I have the heat mats, and I'm going to maybe start a couple more things, but most of my other things won't be started for another couple weeks. And my hope is by that time these will all be germinated and steadily getting going, that I can move them down to these lower racks, or I have two large bay windows upstairs that I can move them up there. And in about a month and a half, you know, they should be pretty substantial plants and they'll need to be up there anyways. The goal is to wait on my peppers to put them outside until well into June, since peppers do love heat so much and I want them to do really well. However, some of these will be sent off for the sale. That hopefully goes well. So those are just a few other things I wanted to say. Oh, and a tip. So I did start to clean off the floor. As you can see, there's still little spots. Hopefully when it dries, that was wet potting soil. So hopefully if it dries, it will come up. But a tip, if you are planting, seed starting on carpet, maybe put a sheet down or something so that when accidents do happen, you have a way to take care of that. And I do like the fact that this is on wheels. And so when the dirt dries a little bit more, I'm going to actually be able to wheel this to sweep underneath. But just a couple thoughts when you're getting ready to set up your own seed starting operation. Just some ideas and thoughts to think about to set up. Hey everybody, so it has been 4 days, it's Saturday, since I planted all these back on Tuesday. I just wanted to show you guys some last minute updates. There is my space heater. One thing I have noticed since I've gotten this space heater is that it's blowing directly on these seeds and they seem to be drying out. So I actually have a spray bottle here that I used last night just to kind of make sure the soil wasn't too dry. Like I keep saying, this is me trial and error, figuring things out and seeing how it goes. And so I don't know that's a great thing to be doing, but what I do know is I want to keep this room nice and toasty so that they will germinate, especially all these peppers. And so this is just what I have to do for now. But my thermometer here, I've been keeping this room at about 80 degrees, which is perfect for those peppers. So I'm very happy and excited about that this is working out pretty well. Nothing has germinated, which is way too early for anything to be germinating. I think the earliest would be Tuesday of next week, 7 full days. So we will see. However, anybody who is out there starting seeds, are you like me where you just come down anyways 2-3 times a day and just stare at all your started plants, just hoping and wishing you saw just a little bit of green pop through? It's gonna happen, probably not till next week or maybe the week after, but I am definitely down here quite often just checking on them all. And yeah, so I wanted to just give you guys one last look, and next time you see this room I will show you the actual starts. Oh my word. So I just shot that last little bit of video and I came down and looked, and I actually do have mustard spinach growing. I had no idea. I shot that saying I've been looking and nothing's growing, and actually I have an entire flat of mustard spinach. Woohoo! Which I do know that the spinach, I have a girl that I follow on YouTube, and she was planting or starting her spinach next to her peppers, and because she was keeping it so warm, her spinach ended up bolting as babies. And so now that the spinach is up, I'm actually going to move it away from all the heat so that it doesn't bolt too quickly or actually don't bolt at all. That would be the main goal. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up higher on the shelf away from so much of the heat, and I will probably end up moving it upstairs just to guarantee that it survives. So another thing I want to mention is that I have been reading about how important it is for plants in order to not get leggy to be close enough to the light. And so my sprouted mustard spinach down here was up on this level, and it's pretty far from that light, and so I was afraid that it would end up getting leggy, and so I'm using my girls' blocks that they play with to build it up so that it's right up there under the light. And so hopefully that will fix any legginess, and then as it continues to grow I can move it further and further away from that light. But that is just another thing as you are doing your own seed starting and trying to figure things out. You don't have to buy all this stuff. You can work things out as best as you can, and for me that is using my girls' play blocks to make it work out for me. So yay, I am so excited. This is my first time ever growing seeds this way, like seed starting like this, and so this is my first time ever tray of seed starts, and it makes me so happy. Alright guys, so another way that I have started seeds is through my greenstalk. This is something that I actually could not find anywhere online that anybody has done this, but it made sense in my head, so we will see how it works. Basically, I filled this all up yesterday. Yep, yesterday, and it's got radishes, carrots, and beets in all the different levels. And then this is greenhouse fabric that I have wrapped around it. I have rocks holding it at the bottom, and that's to keep it all nice and warm and like that greenhouse effect inside. So we'll see how it works. I'm afraid of it getting a little too warm, but temperatures for the next several days are actually going to be pretty chilly, so I'm going to keep it covered. I will check it periodically just to make sure it's not getting too warm in there. I might take it off for a couple hours in the afternoon to cool it down, but as things hopefully germinate, I will let you guys know how this worked. I have another tower that I ended up not having enough dirt for, and then I decided instead of wasting all my seeds in case this doesn't work well, this is going to be my test run. And if this germinates well in a couple weeks, then I will go ahead and plant my other tower. My plan is to use cold winter vegetables like beets, radishes, lettuces, carrots and such, peas and all that through the spring, and then when the summer comes I might switch it out. I'm also thinking I might want to use some herbs in there. I just haven't really decided exactly how all I want to use my greenstalk because I want to use it for everything. I want like 10 more. But anyways, this is another seed starting option that I am trying out right now, and I wanted to show you guys. I don't have any reference on if this will work. I can't tell you any cons or pros or anything, but I feel like it's going to be very similar to a greenhouse or even winter sowing ideas, and so I wanted to show you that as well. So I am out in my garden, and if you guys have seen my previous videos on winter sowing, you know where I'm at. I'm with all my winter sown jugs. And so this is another thing that I did to start seeds this year, another technique or whatever you call it. And so far I have 4 jugs that have started sprouting. So I'm gonna turn this video around in a second and show you what's inside. I'm not gonna go through the whole process because it is in previous videos, my winter sowing part 1 and part 2, I go through the whole process of how I put these together back in January, and then I did some more in March. All of these back here are herbs that I started back in March, and so which was 2 weeks ago. Anyways, so this is another thing. I'm really excited. I have 4, like I said, I have 4 guys here that have already had sprouts in them. Some things that I did not do well is labeling. I don't know what all these are yet because some of these I put numbers on. And then I used all the seed packet, and through the seed packet, which I wrote the number on. So I don't remember what all these are. I have a pretty good idea of what I think they are. I think they are peppermint, chai, or spearmint, but I'll have to wait till they get a little bit bigger to find out for sure. So let me turn this around and show you what we got inside. All right, so this guy has so many sprouts, and I'm debating if I need to thin them or I kind of want to wait till they get a little bit bigger, and at some point I'm going to take them all out and repot them in new pots. I don't know what this one is. I think this is either chamomile or peppermint or spearmint. This one looks really nice and healthy. I can get it to focus. There we go. I got several sprouts there. These are really healthy. Again, I don't know what these are. But those are looking really good, and when they get a little bit bigger, I can repot those. I don't know what these are, but those are looking really good, and when they get a little bit bigger, I can repot those as well. So that's the fun part about using winter sown jugs, is peeking inside trying to find all your starts. I think I do have another 1 or 2 over here that have started. I actually moved them. As you can see, my leaves have piled up. The wind has actually blown them all up like this, and I've left it because I think it's good insulation still for when it's colder. We still have some cold nights. But since these guys have sprouted, I was afraid that they weren't getting enough sun, that there was no sunlight getting to those sprouts. So I actually moved them up here onto a pallet in hopes that the sun will help them become stronger a little bit faster. As these start growing and getting bigger, I will up pot them. I'm thinking about moving the herbs I talked about into my greenstalk, and yeah, but you can actually leave them in these jugs for quite a while. I just sowed quite a bit in some of these, and so I will need to transfer them out so they're not fighting each other for nutrients and losing space in there. Some of my other ones that I did not sow quite as heavily, I will keep in the jugs until I'm ready to plant in the garden. And they can fit into pretty substantial plants inside those jugs.